All right, hi everybody. Today I'm going to cover Chapter 12, Stress, Relational Conflict, and Emotional Support. This is where kind of the basis from Chapter 11 and Chapter 12 is for the optional paper 2. Remember, it is completely optional. You do not have to do it. If you choose to do it though, I'm going to record another lecture on how to play snaps. I think it might be a little bit easier if you see, I know I posted a video and a WikiHow page to learn how to do it, but if you choose to do it, just watch that video. I think it would be beneficial, to see me explain it. So let's dive right in. Skip over the BATA for 308. I'm still waiting to hear back from Dr. Myers. I emailed him and he was like, I don't have a plan yet. And I was like, okay. So I don't know what's going on. We'll figure it out. So let's get into understanding stress. We all have stress. It's something that is very, very common. And something that I'm sure you have dealt with, even just restarting classes this week. So stress is a combination of thoughts and worries that negatively affect your body's responses. And there can be both short-term and long-term problems. Okay, so there are some different aspects to stress that, we may not always think about. There's emotional, behavioral, and physical effects. First being emotional. Stress is going to change how we feel about certain situations, and it creates things such as apathy, anxiety, and irritability, right? So if you are stressed, you might cry for no reason, right? Or you might take things out on other people for no reason. They're just trying to help, or, they just want to see what's going on with you, but you might take things out on them. And then there's behavioral. So stress can also change the way that we act, typically in one of two ways. One, avoidance. So we avoid certain behaviors entirely. This is where you might not hang out with your friends whatsoever, right? Because you're avoiding that situation. And then there's extremes. So this is engaging in certain behaviors in excess. So binge drinking. Now, as college students, you're probably stressed a lot. And typically when you go out, you are binge drinking. Now, I'm not saying that you're going out on a Friday night and drinking your normal amount that you drink and, you're doing it because you're stressed. But oftentimes, when we're stressed, what's the first thing that we do? We go have a drink, whether we grab it out of our fridge or we go to a bar. And then we start engaging in these behaviors in excess. So if we see people, emotions or behaviors in these ways, nonverbal communication is going to communicate to us that something is wrong. And then the physical effects. So stress can cause noticeable problems in our bodies. So decreased immune systems, aching joints, muscles, facial distortions, weight loss, weight gain, right? So physical tolls of stress might be bags under your eyes, these lovely things. Being a doc student is tough. Being an undergraduate student is tough, right? You have all these experiences that you're supposed to engage in. You have all these classes you're supposed to take. You're supposed to have a social life, so you're supposed to exercise. You're supposed to drink enough water and maintain healthy, stable relationships. That's going to cause stress. So you get bags under your eyes, or maybe you start losing weight. These physical issues can communicate that something is wrong as well. So just think about this. What are your biggest sources of stress as a college student? Just think about that. Take a second. So we have some common sources of stress. I believe there are 4 that we talk about. Yes. The first is negative situations. These are called our stressors. So upcoming exams, bills that are due, etc. I've lived a very fortunate life. Whenever I've been in school, I've not had to pay my car insurance or my cell phone bill. I've lived a very privileged life. I realize this. Well, times are changing because my mom is dealing with cancer and everything, and bills are piling up. So now, on my very limited budget, I have to pay my own car insurance and cell phone bill. I'm not guaranteed a teaching job over the summer because we're not guaranteed them right now because of the uncertainty of coronavirus. So if you're signed up for a comm class in the summer, please still take it, right? I need you to take it so I have a job, right? Plus, I like seeing people over the summer. But with this uncertainty, I'm really worried about how I'm going to pay for my bills. Because on top of the cell phone and car insurance, I have to pay my car payment, which is $335 a month. And I have to pay my rent and credit card bills that I have for, covering certain things. I have to pay utilities. I need to eat. I mean, there's all these things going on. And I don't make that much money, right? I make about the average as a minimum wage job, maybe even a little bit less. So that's a negative situation. That's a stressor. There are positive situations, though, that can stress us out as well. So these are uncertainty. So weddings, graduations, vacations. I'm sure most of the seniors in here can attest to this. Graduation was going to be stressful no matter what, right? Because we were going to really have to get through this together. We have no clue what's going on. We've heard stories from our friends, we've heard things, but we had no clue about graduation. Now it's become a negative situation because they've canceled it, right? But typically wedding days, they stress us out because we've got to have everything done. Graduations, we've got to be certain places at certain times. Vacations can be stressful because you have to plan the entire vacation. And as you know, one person typically does all the planning of the vacation. Third, personality. Oh, sorry. Certain personality traits are going to predispose people to experience more stress. So people who have anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, anxiety, depression, those are going to naturally lend themselves to have you experience more stress. So I have obsessive compulsive tendencies. I don't have the disorder. I have been tested, but I have tendencies, meaning in times of stressful situations, they do get worse, but any day, I have these tendencies. So my coffee table, I'm not going to show you right now because my coffee table is a mess at this point, but typically every remote is set in its spot and they cannot be turned even so slightly. They have to be straight on and equal distance apart, right? I wash my hands multiple times a day, and this was before coronavirus, so before it was cool, right? Hair flip. But I get stressed really easily because I have obsessive compulsive tendencies, because I try to control every single thing, right? So personality is a source of stress. Basically, I'm saying it's stressful to be me. Just kidding. It's not. It's pretty cool. But your personality can be a source of stress. And then finally, secondhand stress. So we become stressed when people in our lives become stressed. So friends, family, partners, etc. Well, like I said, you all know my mom is going through cancer right now, and it got bumped up from stage 2 to stage 4 when it spread. We just got news last night that there is a 10% survival rate if the chemo can catch up with the cancer, right? Well, I'm already stressed. I'm very stressed. I've never broken out this bad in my life, right? That's how my facial distortions are appearing. I've got zits all over. You can't really see them right now, but they're right there. They're gross. So I know my mom is stressed, so I'm stressed. And then my brother said I could stay at his house because I'm not allowed to stay at my mom's house. One, there's nowhere for me to stay because she took over my old bedroom. And two, um, the living room is full of junk and stuff that they're getting rid of because they don't need it. So I'm stressed. My mom is stressed, so I'm stressed. Well, I asked my brother if I could stay with him, and literally his girlfriend just texted me right before I recorded this lecture and said, "You can stay here, but your dog can't stay here." Well, where's King supposed to stay? That's my question. So that stresses me out because my mom is sick and she's stressed and I'm stressed, and that's even, yeah. So we have all this secondhand stress that it doesn't have to be as, gut wrenching as cancer being stressed. But if your mom is worried about paying your tuition, your dad is worried about where they're going to come up with the funds to buy food because of the coronavirus, that reflects on you and you start to get secondhand stress because of it. Okay, so there are some cues that are going to communicate stress. Less smiling. When you are stressed, you are going to be less expressive in general, but you are absolutely going to smile less, right? Because you're stressed. You're nitpicking every little thing that's going on, and you are realizing, okay, I have to pay for this, I have to pay for that, I have to find a place to stay when I go home. I've got to get masks, I've got to get this, I've got to get that, whatever it is, right? You're nitpicking everything. So you're not finding the joy in things because you're stressed. You are going to have poor body posture. You're not going to sit with your shoulders back and look all proper and, right? You're going to be slumped over, hunched over, combining those words. You're going to have poor body posture. You're not going to really use good eye contact. You're going to have downward eye contact, slower and less frequent gestures. There's going to be decrease in touching behaviors, and you're going to be less groomed. So we're wearing our hair in buns on top of our heads with sweatpants on, right? We're not going to be getting dressed up to the nines like maybe we would normally. So there are these nonverbal cues that do communicate stress, but how do we cope with them? Sorry. Multiple strategies exist to reduce stress, and that's going to vary in their effectiveness. So there are three suggestions that tend to be beneficial. The first, increased human contact or haptics. Positive touch leads to reduction in stress, right? Receiving a hug, going to get a massage, holding hands with somebody, kissing somebody. It reduces our stress. Second is strategic facial expressions. So forcing the expression of a smile actually reduces negative emotions, including stress and sadness. So fake it till you make it, right? So your friend can see that you're stressed and they come over and they're like, "Hey, everything okay?" "Yeah, I'm great. Everything is so good right now." Right? Even just forcing that can reduce the negative emotions you're feeling, and that does include stress and sadness. Fake it and trick your brain into being less stressed. And finally, larger proxemic zones. So certain times we just have to get away for a while, and this has been shown to reduce stressful experiences. So go get some fresh air, whether it's just sitting outside or not. Take a walk. Yesterday, I submitted my dissertation to my committee for my final defense. In 2 weeks, as long as I pass, I will be a doctor, right? But yesterday, and granted, my apartment's decent sized, I submitted it and immediately went outside. I needed more air. I needed out of my apartment. And so I used that larger proxemic zone as a way to de-stress, and it really helped. And then I went in and did a FaceTime house party with my doc friends because I'm going crazy in my house, right? Um, so with this quarantine, going outside, I just pointed to my window. You can't see that there's a window there, but sorry, you're gonna see my Christmas tree. There's a window. Go out there. Also, keep your Christmas tree up until March. That is a way to cope with stress. Richard tells me I need to take it down, and I tell him no every single time. It's the one thing that makes me happy right now. um, so moving forward, there is nonverbal hostility and conflict, and we shouldn't, uh, wait a second. Couples that don't last, their relationship ends. They typically rely on these hostile styles of conflict, and these are the Gottman's four horsemen of the apocalypse. So these are four different behaviors, what they are, the verbal examples and the nonverbal signals. I'm not going to go through the table, in depth. You can take a look at it, but criticism, so accusing somebody of wrongdoing, being blaming. You're always so late. It's your fault that we never have any chips at the house, right? I don't know, maybe that's a common problem you have with your significant other. Richard and I are both pretty bad about eating the chips, so we don't blame each other because we both know that we're eating a bunch of them. To show this, you might use an angry face, raise your voice, pointing, literally pointing at them. This is your fault. You're always the reason that we have no chips, right? So moving forward, we have nonverbal hostility and conflict. There are two topics that I want to talk about right now. The first is flooding. This is the point where you can't take it anymore. You can't take any more conflict. Men do typically reach this point faster than women, and they are likely or more likely to withdraw from the emotional conflict. So, in distressed marriages, it's actually the men that withdraw, but this is due to the women's demand. So we'll talk about the demand withdrawal pattern here in a second. So flooding is, you can't take any more conflict. You're just done. You've got to get out of this, whether it's this relationship or this conflict. And then the demand withdrawal pattern. In emotional conflicts, the woman pursues or demands, and the man typically withdraws, right? So I want you to tell me how I'm feeling. I want you to tell me what's going on. And he's like, nah, flooding point, out of here. So this makes the woman pursue more. She follows him through the house, or she, talks to him more about it. One of my friends actually just told me about, it was a demand withdrawal that was going on in their relationship. She's been with her significant other, her boyfriend, for, oh God, 7 years? They've lived together the last 5? And I mean, they live back home, so it's not like they moved across the country or anything. Like, they just moved into a house together. But they went to one of their mutual friends' weddings, and she kept saying, "Oh, well, this makes me think about us. Do you think about us getting engaged? Do you think about our wedding? Like, are you going to propose soon?" And he just kept withdrawing, either changing the subject or leaving. And then she kept pushing it. And then it finally got to a point where they got into a really big argument because he was like, "I don't want to talk about this. I have a plan in the works, but right now I'm not ready." And it was this huge problem. She actually called me to talk about it because she didn't know what she was doing wrong. And so it actually got me thinking about this demand withdrawal pattern. Things that were going on that I was like, wait a second, like, this is what you're doing. This is what he's doing. So how do you avoid it? Positive emotions during mundane conversation, right? So just positive emotions do help. They'd had that conversation several times, and him being like, "Hey, I understand this is something you really want, and I want it too, but I'm just not ready for that. I do have a plan in the works though," right? That would be a positive emotion. but also during the mundane conversations of, hey, how was work? Actually listening to how was work. And then, since we know that men get to the flooding point quicker and they avoid easier or they withdraw quicker, they should avoid anger and whining. So, when somebody starts talking to you, you shouldn't be like, ugh, right? That's not a good emotion to have in your relationship. So, how are we going to escape and avoid destructive behaviors with conflict management? Immediacy behaviors in positive interactions, right? Um, so, in positive interactions, you're sitting on the couch, you're having a nice conversation together, or you're spending time together. So, increase in touch, smiles, laughter, positive facial expressions, close distances. Your significant other sits on the couch and says, ugh, I had such a hard day. Instead of being like, that sucks, which sometimes we do, maybe lean in and actively listen. Tell me about it. What happened? Why was it so bad? This helps make that interaction more positive. Using repair mechanisms, so actions that prevent negative feelings or behaviors from spiraling out of control, right? So you have negative feelings in the relationship, you might use repair mechanisms, right? So I've just been feeling like you're not paying enough attention to me. Well, showing them you're actively listening is going to be a repair mechanism. Avoid needless displays of anger. So finger pointing, angry faces, uses of sarcasm in stressful situations. Replacing nonverbal contempt with validating actions like active listening, right? I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm not just showing the signs or going through the motions. I'm literally listening to you. We can combat flooding by calming down, taking a deep breath, taking a step back from the situation, not physically, but mentally. Excuse me. And then soft startups to conflict. So raise these issues in a non-threatening way, right? Don't just accuse. You've been avoiding me all week. We're stuck in quarantine together, and literally every time I talk to you, you go in the other room, right? That's just accusing. So maybe starting it up like, hey, do you have a second to chat? Something's been bothering me and I just want to bring it to your attention. I don't even know if you're aware that this is going on, right? That's a soft startup. Typically people are going to be like, yeah, what's going on? And then you can say, well, I just feel like every time I try to talk to you, you change the subject and leave the room to go play Call of Duty or whatever's going on, right? And they're going to say, oh my God, I didn't even realize this was going on. Or, I can fix that. I can change that. I'm sorry, right? Like they're going to become more aware. So those are some ways that we can deal with escaping and avoiding destructive behaviors. We also have some appeasement behaviors. So we try to pacify the other in potential or actual conflict, leading to reconciliation, submissive, and affiliative behaviors. So there is, by engaging in these submissive and affiliative behaviors, it shows that you don't want to fight and that you feel for this person. You have empathy for them. Anticipatory appeasement prevents conflict with nonverbals by showing politeness, shyness. So head nods, speech hesitations, you are listening to them. So you're not going to interrupt or immediately move into their territory and take over communication. Reactive appeasement is reducing conflict taking place with nonverbals by showing embarrassment or shame. Like when you're in a fight and you put your head down, you don't look at them and you're talking to them, right? I'm embarrassed of the way that I was acting. I feel shame for that. I'm really sorry. Okay. And then providing emotional support. So theory of comforting messages, how we can become a source of emotional support in 6 steps. First, we recognize distress. We have to be able to decode the other person's signals of distress. I have to actively see, okay, they're showing that they are stressed out. Second is reducing feelings, or reflecting feelings, not reducing feelings. We use our nonverbals to show empathy. So from contagion to facial feedback hypothesis, we begin to look how, or feel how we look, bringing us one step closer to understanding how the person feels. Right? So your friend looks sad and you go to comfort them. You're not going to go, hey, what's up? Everything's so great. Right? We're going to have more of a somber facial feedback, and then we start feeling how they're feeling. Have you ever seen your friend cry and then you start crying? Right? You might not have any reason to cry, but it is an emotional, contagious situation. 3, reaching out. You reach out to your friend, your partner, whoever. You might touch them. You get closer to them to offer help. 4th, you relinquish control. So you encourage the person to reappraise their situation and empowering them, giving control to them. So we avoid judgments. We do this through our facial and vocal expressions. So our friend tells us, like, I'm really stressed. I think my significant other is cheating on me. I'm not going to judge them and be like, that's stupid, right? I'm going to give them control. I give them my undivided attention, and I avoid my nonverbals that are dominant, right? So I avoid turning away. I avoid talking loudly or over another person. This empowers them, gives them control to talk through their situation and also make the decision necessary. 5, reinforce speech. If somebody is reluctant, we get them to talk using their nonverbals. We let them have the floor. So we are silent. We use our head nods. We use our gestures to encourage them to speak. And then 6, rewarding optimism. So we reward optimistic appraisals. Smiles, vocal enthusiasm, congratulatory gestures, thumbs up, like, you got this, head nods, right? That is how you provide emotional support. So, like I said, be sure to check out the next video. I'm going to post it on how to play the game Snaps, because that is what the optional paper 2 is about. So if you are interested, go check that out. It should be up soon. And, you know, I won't see you, but you'll see me next time I do a video. All right. Have a great day. Bye.